Everybody, happy Friday. Roger here from Compassion Processing. I want to talk a little bit about the history and origin of merchant service processing fees. I remember, I'm going to date myself here. I remember back in 1988, I was working back at the Grand Cinemas Alderwood. It was a movie theater that was owned by a company called Cineplex Odeon. If any of you are old enough to remember them, and everything was everything was cash at that point. Everybody used cash for everything. Every once in a while, you could write a check, but a lot of businesses didn't want to take checks because you'd bounce a check, right? And then in 1988, the theater that I worked with was approached by American Express, and they're like, "Look, we've got this prestigious credit card, and we've got a lot of people that use this credit card. And if your movie theater took this credit card, we have a bunch of people that would be more apt to come to your movie theater to use their credit card to be able to purchase movies and popcorn and all the delicious snacks that you have inside. And for the privilege of getting access to our clients, we're going to charge you just half a percentage point." Now, half a percentage point back then, a movie was $5, or we'd had $2 Tuesdays, right? So just say $5. So half of a percentage point, you're talking about 2.5 cents. 1 percentage point would be 5 cents, yeah, and half a percentage point would be 2.5 cents. 2.5 cents on $5. It makes perfect sense. No problem. We will pay for the privilege of getting access to your clients. Now, Visa, MasterCard, Discover all started following suit. They're like, all right, so we're going to do this. And they would go to these businesses, and these businesses were like, oh my gosh, yeah, I'm just going to pay a small little fee for the privilege of having access to these customers that are going to use their credit card, and it will increase their sales. And it does at some point, right? Even currently, currently, now, we won't go currently yet, but back then it increased sales about 20 to 25%. They would see an uptick of people using credit cards. Now, let's just fast forward 4 decades, right? We're at what are we 38 years? No, 1988 to 20. So what are we? 33 years? No, 38 years. Holy cats. Something like that. Okay, you guys fit it in my math. Whatever. So 88 to now, right? So nobody carries cash anymore. The tables have completely reversed. Nobody carries cash. Everybody has a credit card in their wallet. And 95% of all transactions that are paid with a credit card are not just paid with a normal credit card, but they're paid with a rewards card. Ask yourself to audit yourself. How many of you are paying with a card that gets you miles, gets you cash back, or gets you points or rewards of some point? Okay, so this is what's happened is now the credit card companies are all competing for people to use their credit card, because that credit card equals debt, equals interest that is earned, equals millions and millions of dollars, actually trillion. I think that we're up to $17.1 trillion in credit card debt on an annual basis in 2024 in the United States. So everybody's using these cards, but everybody is using these cards to get rewards. So what we've seen is over the last several decades that the price on the processing has gone from 0.5% all the way up to almost 4% on some cards, depending on what type of card it is and what kind of reward you're getting. So just for instance, like an American Express Black corporate card is almost 3.9% to process, just to swipe or tap the card. Now, if the vendor has to like manually type it in or something like that, and then it's even more. But the thing is it's gone from half a percentage point up to almost 4 in some cases. Now, who is paying for these reward programs? Not the guys that are making profits off $17.1 trillion. No, it's the merchants. Because remember, back in 1988, they were told, hey, you're going to pay for the privilege of getting access to our clients. And this was back in the day when everybody used cash, and that was a very minority group of people that actually used credit cards. Well, the tables have turned, but the credit cards have still managed to convince merchants that it's their responsibility to pay these merchant fees. And it's getting completely out of control. Let's take a look at an average business that uses a credit card company, something that you're all familiar with. How many of you guys go out to eat a couple times a week, right? So you go to your favorite Chinese takeout restaurant, right? If you talk to their bookkeeper, their owner, their CPA, or if you happen to own one of these businesses, you know very well that the net profit margin that you're operating on is really, really low. After all your expenses and everything, what you actually get to keep is probably somewhere around 10%. 10% net profit margin is what you actually get to keep. However, you're still paying on top of all your other overhead and stuff like that. These businesses are still paying, let's just say 3% to the credit card company on average, 3% for the privilege of taking that credit card and making sure that I get to use my Delta miles to go to Hawaii this winter. 3% out of 10% is 30% of that business's net profit margin. Okay, so if there was a way for us to eliminate the merchant from paying that fee, it would automatically increase their bottom line by 30%. So their profit margin would go from 10% to 13%, automatic 30% increase to their bottom line. That's a win, right? Which is why merchants are trying to figure out how to do it. And unfortunately, they're doing it wrong. They're doing it illegally. They're doing it out of compliance. There is a legal and compliant way to recover these fees in all 50 states, and you just have to know about it, and you just have to figure it out. But that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is literally to talk about how the credit card companies have continued to literally brainwash, yes, I said brainwash, over the last several decades, brainwash merchants into believing that covering the merchant fees, paying for their clients' trips to Hawaii, their clients' points to be able to buy them Christmas presents, their cash back at the end of the year to get that big check that they get back from Costco or their credit card companies or whoever, is their responsibility to pay for the privilege of taking credit cards. Let's be honest, it's not a privilege to take credit cards anymore. It's a requirement. So why are the merchants paying fees? Why are you paying fees? If you want to know how to get around that, if you want to know how to compliantly figure that out and sidestep that and give your clients an actual choice of whether they want to get their rewards or maybe they want to get an immediate cash discount right then, reach out and let me know. I'd love to talk to you about it. But let's get over this thing that merchant fees are just a cost of doing business. You know what else is the cost of doing business? The lights, your power bill, your gas bill, your vendor bill, your gas for your delivery truck, your maintenance on your lawnmowers to mow people's lawns. Are you eating that cost? No, you've built it into your cost. So why are we keeping this out? Why are we doing this? This is a mental shift that we need to take because we need to break the mold of paying these merchant fees. It's not your responsibility to pay for my trip to Hawaii, although I do appreciate it. When I scan my card, if you're paying your processing fees, I'm going to be the first one to thank you for my bonus miles. Love you guys. Talk to you soon. You got questions? Reach out, compassionprocessing.com. We'll see you soon.